Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Michael Fillios, founder and CEO of IT Ally and a CDO editorial board member. And we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Subha Madhavan, Vice President and Head of Clinical AI and ML, Early Clinical Development at Pfizer. Subha, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Michael. Pleased to be here.
Looking at the areas, particularly around data and being skilled as a data science, what are your thoughts in terms of how people develop these skills, and can they be developed internally? Can they be developed, externally? And how do you leverage your teams in order to build the right skill sets that you need to achieve what is a very bold mission that you have and have cited here? And this is a field also that's relatively nascent, right? For the most part, we're still developing in the universities data analytics degrees and so on. So how do you approach talent? How do you think about that internally from a development standpoint and augmenting that perhaps with skilled people from the outside?
Yeah, that's a great question and a very loaded one, right?
Yes.
So at Pfizer, we're building out the clinical AI ML team. So let me just describe the types of talent we are looking for and then sort of work backwards onto the what type of training and what type of skill sets. So, one of the core mission of the clinical AI ML team is to be portfolio facing, right? So we want to accelerate. We now have about 100 programs over the next 5 years. We want to accelerate all of those programs and also bring new drug programs across all of our 6 therapy areas. So that's our mission, really, is to be, take the AI and ML pieces and the data pieces and apply them directly to our drug programs. So what's needed to achieve that is really multifunctional teams who have the ability to interact with, scientists and clinicians. And so that brings me to a very important point about the phenotype of data scientists that we look for. I like to call them, they have to move up and down the value chain, right? So the data science value chain could be, talking to stakeholders, understanding the business problems, acquiring the data, building your models, verifying and validating your models, and then going back and telling stories about these data sets to your stakeholders. So we tend to look for people who can kind of go up and down the value chain. They're not just experts in convolutional neural networks or, support vector machines or cross-validation techniques, but they can also tie that to the business problems and really elicit the clinical questions from the scientists, right? So that's a very important skill set. So in sort of working backwards then to think about what are the types of skills, so there are 2 pathways to come into data science, right? So I described mine. I was a lab scientist, a molecular biologist, and I then went back to school to get a degree in computer science. And then through my, I learned a lot on my job in terms of how to work with teams and also picked up a lot of data science skills. So it's about being a lifelong learner because this field is moving so fast that you have to keep up. And organizations like CDO Magazine really help with sort of convening those experts and keeping you up to date with the latest information. So one path is to come from the biology or the clinical direction. The other path is coming from sort of a quantitative sciences field, right? So we're seeing a lot of, our pipeline of candidates who have, computer science degrees or biostatistics or even physics degrees who have dealt with large scale data sets and really understand the nuances of machine learning and deep learning, but want to now apply that to drug discovery and life sciences. So I think those are sort of converging of 2 paths. Either path that you come in from, I think your ability to go across the value chain and really talk to stakeholders and then take that problem back and solve it using these techniques, and then going back to stakeholders and iterating on that is a very important skill set. I had this great opportunity to launch a graduate program at Georgetown University. It's called Health Informatics and Data Science, and it was specifically designed to create a pipeline for industry. So what we did was established an industry advisory board, and the very first meeting we started whiteboarding what are the types of skill sets you're looking for. You're looking for people who understand CDISC standards. You are looking for people who understand, de-identification of electronic medical records, et cetera. And there were like about 25 different things, which then translated into the various curriculum pieces and what type of courses were to be. I think a lot of universities are beginning to do that, and also professional societies like AMIA and JSM, the Joint Statistical Organization. They're all starting to think about how do we train the next generation to really play in this field. So hope I answered all of your questions, sort of touching on the training and skill sets, and also what we're looking for in terms of building out our clinical AI/ML team.
Yeah, no, sure. Like you said, it's an evolving question that every organization is dealing with. And so maybe on that front, if you were talking to a student who wants to pursue a career in data science and analytics, what advice would you give them? And is there, you talked about your journey, was there, some event or someone that maybe influenced you in terms of pursuing, you pursuing this field?
Wow, there's not one, there are many, right? Lots of people influenced my journey in data science. I had the great privilege of working with, Francis Collins, who was the NIH director now, after a very long tenure, has retired from that position. The Cancer Genome Atlas program that was led by the National Cancer Institute, it was co-led by Francis Collins, learned a lot from him and how he organized teams internationally, putting these cross-functional teams together, etc. So, that's one example. I've had many, many such mentors throughout my life, and I continue to seek out not just very senior people, but also peer mentors. I mean, you learn a lot from your peers who are advancing the field and the domain itself. What would I tell a student? I guess the way I think about it, what would I tell myself when I was a graduate student, right, is to really be a lifelong learner. I think that in the data and tech field, you can get very outdated very quickly. So, I bookmarked all the Coursera courses, right, that I keep going back to. And, some of these courses have newer versions. So Andrew Ng, for example, who's the co-founder of Coursera, had this amazing certification program on machine learning. And that's like a go-to. I always recommend students to go to that machine learning course. He taught that course in a different language. He's now completely revamped that course into Python, and Python is becoming sort of the language of choice for data scientists. So I tell people to go back and retake that course, because now you can not only learn how to do machine learning in Python, but also get some of the latest examples from Andrew on how that course, how he has constructed that course. So I think being a lifelong learner, now it's so easy, right? Because, there's so many, courses and information that's available to one freely. You don't actually have to spend $1 to go and learn some of this. And there are these machine learning communities within LinkedIn and other social media networks that you can learn from. The second advice I would give myself 20 years ago is, find the right people to collaborate with, right? And we tend to kind of stay in our own domain because that's our comfort zone. So, I love precision medicine, and, I tend to seek out people from precision medicine. And, here, after coming to Pfizer, I worked for almost 20 years in the field of precision medicine. I'm always looking for what more can I learn that's beyond and different. And there are these amazing team of medicinal chemists, for example, right? And they think very deeply about compounds and how do compounds bind to proteins. And so seeking out a collaborator in that domain where I could bring my precision medicine knowledge and they could bring their medicinal chemistry knowledge is just takes the synergy to the next level. So I think finding right people to collaborate with is key. I also say find the right sponsors, not just mentors, right? So, find people who will actually make opportunities for you, and you make opportunities for others, right? So really helping others advance in the field advances you. So that's one way to think about it. If there's a speaking opportunity and you can't go, think of 4 other people that you can recommend for that speaking opportunity. And really promoting others in the field has helped me a lot, just to even understand and learn about what opportunities exist out there. So I think those are some quick tips for students. And my younger version.
That's great. No, it's great. It's great perspective, right? And maybe as a final point on the talent, of course, whether you agree with the Great Resignation or not, you bring these wonderful talents into your organization, and you've got to keep them in a very competitive space. So, what can you offer up to others that are dealing with some of these challenges with respect to continuously retaining and developing talent in the data science area?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. I think the one that ask myself every day, right? So when I stand in front of the mirror is, where do I want to apply my data science skills, knowledge, experience, etc. And I hear this all the time from my friends and peers, and also people I try to recruit is, they're all of us are looking for impact, right? So we're looking for ways to bring this knowledge and talent to make an impact to patients, make an impact to clinical development. I think that's what you get in a place like Pfizer, is that these constant interactions with scientists and clinicians that can help advance your thinking of how you might how you can be useful, how you can actually bring all of this talent to really inform clinical development. Every time I talk to candidates, this seems to be the front and center, right? So how can I leverage my skills to really have a clinical impact? So and the other thing is, being able to pivot. I mean, large organizations, one of the things that might be frustrating for people is, how do I navigate an organization of 100,000 people? Having been in industry now for a couple of years, I can tell you that it's the smaller teams are extremely entrepreneurial, right? So you can almost think of these as little small businesses, units across the entire organization. So, if you can plug yourself into those entrepreneurial teams, then I think sky's the limit, really, right? And I think that's the beauty of working in a place like this. And that's the way we're going to retain talent is, making sure that they're challenged with the challenges of drug development and of clinical development and interacting with clinicians and understanding that lingo, but at the same time having an opportunity for them to deploy their skills and methodologies to help life sciences and drug development.
Awesome. I think that's a great place to stop. I know we can go on much further with all the knowledge that you have, but I'd like to thank you for joining me today, Subha. And to learn more about CDO Magazine or to view more interviews, please visit cdomagazine.tech. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.